Okay, you're on the air, Karl.
All right, welcome everyone to the third place game in the 2010 Arimaa World Championship. Playing gold today will be Adanac, Greg Magne, and silver will be 99 of 9, Toby Hudson, representing Canada and Australia respectively. This will be the 12th game between these two. Historically, Adanac has won 9 of their previous 11 encounters, a 9-2 record lifetime against 99 of 9. So Adanac would probably be considered the heavy favorite. In fact, 99 of 9 hasn't beaten Adanac for 3.5 years, although that is partly due to having had a long layoff from Arimaa. We'll see what the spectators say when the game starts in the spectator contest. A lot of times you can throw the records out the window when the actual game starts. In the early days of Arimaa, 99 of 9 was the strongest player in the world in late 2004, 2005. And he had a string of mishaps. 99 of 9 has never finished in the top 3, has never medaled in an Arimaa World Championship, even though he was the highest rated player in 2004, 2005, and was the number seed in 2006. He always suffered some kind of an upset or had a scheduling conflict or some other problem. And so it would be actually kind of ironic if he finished off the podium when he was always the top seed or one of the top seeds, and now that he's the 4th seed, if he could win this game, he would then finish in the medals for the first time in his career. The players already met in the finals, and Adanac won already. So they've already showed down, they already faced off in the second round of the World Championship, and Adanac was already able to prevail. I'm expecting Adanac to do something a little bit experimental with his opening setup. He's always been quite willing to do something different. I rather don't expect him to play the 99 of 9 setup. The default setup these days is the 99 of 9 setup, named after Toby Hudson, named after the player who is going to be silver in this game. And that has a centralized elephant and camel front and center, and then it has rabbits forward on the wings, flank rabbits forward. These days it's become increasingly common to have a decentralized camel, and sometimes even to have both horses on the same wing. I expect Adanac to do some kind of variation on the theme, and probably not to have just those 2 flank rabbits opening on the sides. He has experimented consistently in the postal tournament. Echo? I think someone has an open mic. Okay, good. It's been fixed. If anybody wants to jump in, by the way, I don't need to dominate the commentary. I have the game window open. I don't see the players seated yet.
I see both of them are in the chat room, so I think they're going to be joining the game here pretty soon.
Excellent. And I'll check to see whether the players, the spectators, how they have placed their bets. I confess I bet on 99 of 9 because I think that the underdogs in the tournament have been somewhat undersubscribed. That is to say, people know who the favorite is, and it's quite clear that Adanac is the favorite in this match based on their recent history, based on their ratings, based on their lifetime history, based on their seedings. In all respects, we should expect Adanac to win, but when there is a favorite and a clear favorite, I believe the spectators tend to bet too heavily on the favorite. So I picked the underdog. Everything I know about sports gambling is you don't make money betting on favorites. I see the players are seated now, and we will shortly begin. and the clocks have started. So Adanac, having drawn the gold pieces, will surely have thought ahead of time how he wants to place his pieces. It will be 99 of 9 that will have to react to some kind of surprise. But for the first move, you should always know what you're going to do before you come to the table. There's no reason to sit down unprepared and try to figure out as you're sitting down what you would like to do. And I was correct. Adanac does do something experimental. He starts with a flank camel and both horses on the other wing. The elephant is still centralized. He does still have 2 rabbits forward, but he's only put 3 rabbits on the wing with his camel, whereas he's put 5 rabbits on the wing with his horses. So a very unbalanced setup. In fact, in the last postal tournament of recent years, unbalanced setups like this one only accounted for about 1/4 of all the setups. Most of the time, the players, if they didn't do something exactly symmetrical, at least they put 1 horse on each side, 1 dog on each side, elephant on one side, camel on the other side, and so on. We've been just seeing more and more of these unbalanced setups. 99 of 9 takes his opening preparation very seriously. Before all of his games, he researches what has his opponent been playing, in what kind of situations did the opponent fare poorly, and what times did they fare well. So he is surely prepared for some kind of trick. What I would expect to happen is for 99 of 9 to put his camel on the same wing as both of Adanac's horses. Because Adanac is set up first and indicated where his horses are going to be, why not put the camel there, since that's what it would like to fight the most? And indeed, Adanac 99 of 9 does just that. Camel on f7 is facing the gold horses, but 99 of 9 does not put both of his horses on the same wing. It would be kind of foolish if he had put both of his horses on the same wing away from the gold camel, because then c6 would be somewhat underdefended. So instead, 99 of 9 splits his horses, 1 horse on each wing. Adanac moves very quickly, and not as aggressively as he might. That filling in the dog on the d2 square behind the advancing elephant is just a good general purpose move to shore up the position, showing that he's not in a huge hurry to get to the other side. 99 of 9 opens in a similarly conservative fashion, only moving his horse up 1, bringing his elephant around to block off the gold elephant. Perhaps 99 of 9 is already moving his elephant toward the gold camel, once it's on the gold camel side. I'm not sure if that's the best use of tempo. Now on move 3G, we see Adanac advancing, and both players moving quite quickly. They're given 90 seconds per move. Adanac there moved in just 27 seconds, and I'm quite surprised at how quickly they're moving, because there is a definite opportunity to gain tempo, gain an advantage or disadvantage this early in the game. 99 of 9 also responds quite quickly, putting his elephant next to the gold camel. Now, Adanac here has the first real decision that something could shake loose positionally, and what I would expect is the rabbits to advance up the A file, the A2 rabbit to advance to unfreeze the gold camel, to let the gold camel retreat down to the B2 square. Adanac doesn't want his camel pulled out this early in the game. It's possible he may be playing for a swarm later. He has in the past often played for a swarm, but you don't want to lead your swarm with the camel before you've had a chance to develop your other pieces, and hopefully even set up another threat or get some other positional advantage elsewhere on the board. So I expect the camel retreat, and I think that Adanac moving quickly may have gotten himself into a slight disadvantage. Not that he's losing the opening. He's well developed. He's in a solid position, flexible position. But he could have spent his tempi on something else. Oh my. So Adanac is saying already with his move 4G that he is ready to swarm. Go ahead and flip out my camel right now. You can, 99 of 9 could flip the gold camel from the B3 square into the B5 square and move it there immediately, and that would be the traditional move to try and take a camel hostage. The move with the gold horse was saying, I'm ready for you to flip out my camel. Go ahead, and I'll just swarm. Now, 99 of 9 took a couple of steps to shore up his C6 trap. He advanced the dog into the trap and the cat behind it, and used only 2 steps to pull out the camel. I'm not really sure. I think that he should have just flipped out the camel. I think he should have taken Adanac's dare, and he only took 30 seconds to decline it. That's odd. It seems odd as far as I'm concerned. And now he's put the option back into Adanac's court. Adanac now does not have to swarm. He's not committed to swarming because the camel wasn't flipped all the way to C5 with the silver elephant behind it. Then Adanac can advance another piece to unfreeze the camel and retrieve it. In fact, he could even bring up a cat or a dog to unfreeze the camel and retreat the camel. But the rabbit up A2 to A4 and bring the camel back is a perfectly reasonable play here. And so 99 of 9 has given the option to Adanac rather than forcing the play with the camel flip. And sure enough, Adanac advances the rabbit to A4, but does not follow it up with the camel retreat. He continues the swarm. So this is going to be an interesting theoretical battle, a new type of situation. In the past, people were very eager to take a camel hostage. You didn't see something like 99 of 9 waffling around, am I going to take the camel hostage or not? He would have flipped it out instantly in the old days. Now people are afraid of swarms, and so they're less likely to flip out the camel. Nevertheless, I still think that what correct move here for silver is to push that camel to C5 and advance rabbit up to the A5 square to prevent any rabbit support from coming up behind that camel. So I think Adanac is offering something that he shouldn't be offering. But no, 99 of 9 does not want to take that camel hostage. He declines to take the camel hostage again. Now Adanac has the option, since his camel is not frozen, not taken hostage, he can bring his camel back on move 6G, pulling the silver horse with it. So he can shift gears and say, swarm, I was just kidding. I'm not going to swarm. I'm going to try and take your horse hostage instead. And I would recommend that. I didn't believe in Adanac's swarm in the first place. I think Adanac was a little bit premature, a little bit over-aggressive in offering to take his camel be taken hostage. But 99 of 9 was scared to take it hostage, didn't take it hostage, and now, hey, pull that horse down to the B3 square, and the camel can come into the C3 trap, and from there, that horse cannot escape, can't run back to its side, and you've got a long-term advantage. Now, if the horse, sorry, I'm seeing the move now, the move that Adanac actually played was to bring his camel back to the B2 square rather than into the C3 trap. Maybe he was afraid of his camel getting flipped, although I don't think he needed to be afraid of his camel getting flipped. Anyway, this is fine because the silver horse still can't run away. It would need a third piece to come up to try and get that horse freed, like if the silver dog were to run on up to try and get the horse freed, and then maybe it could run away through the C3 trap. But meanwhile, the cat on C7 would be hanging, so we'd have to be careful to use at least one step to defend there, preferably 2. So now, all of a sudden, I think, although I thought that gold opened overly aggressively, I thought that it was a bit dangerous to offer a camel hostage so quickly in the opening. Now I think silver, by being bluffed out of it, is in quite a difficult situation. That camel doesn't have to frame the silver horse immediately. It can take its time and pull it even deeper in. It doesn't have to threaten it right away. The question is, how will it ever come free? Okay, so the silver dog does jump into the fray, and now I think gold has a quite attractive move. Rather than trying to capture anything up in the C6 trap, which silver has abandoned, it might look tempting to say, ooh, that's so weak, it's so undefended, I want to capture something in C6. But now gold has to be careful that gold does not get swarmed in this situation. Well, to avoid getting swarmed here, a very easy way is to retreat the elephant, horse, and dog down the D file, and to bring the camel up into the B3 square. While I was saying that, gold moved and for some reason prevented the silver horse from pushing out into the C2 square and didn't reoccupy the D3 square with his own horse. So the silver horse can now somewhat run away. I think that it would be possible. Maybe not. Maybe that holds it in well. I remain surprised at how quickly the players are moving. Adanac only took 36 seconds on a very dicey move. I mean, there's some tactics going on there, some interesting stuff happening. Anyway, I approve of his general instinct to reoccupy the B3 square with the camel. So the silver looked like all of a sudden silver said, you know, I want to swarm, not you. You started out by advancing your camel. You started out by advancing your rabbit. You wanted to swarm. Well, I'm going to swarm instead of you. I'm going to see your swarm and raise you one. And so gold correctly here is fighting for space by bringing up the camel back into that square. So 7S is on the board, and the silver horse has run away, run down to the D1 square, where it won't be easy for the camel to get it. Now, if the camel would love to run and sit on that horse right away. That's what the camel would most like to do. But if it did that, then the D3 square would be open for the dog to get into. So gold would have to calculate carefully here. If I do that, if I bring my camel out and try and go after the horse, how am I going to guard the B3 square? So seeing silver's move and seeing the silver horse escape somewhat, although in a very awkward square, that horse on D1 is not going to be happy at all, but nevertheless makes me wonder whether Adanac shouldn't have put his horse on D3 on the previous move, and then if the silver horse had pushed its way out into the C2 square, the camel would have been in a much better position to chase it down on the C2 square, and the gold horse, which had been on D3, would be able to come across to B3 to take over from the camel. So I think Adanac now is taking a longer think. His first time he's used all 2 of his minutes in the game, and he may be taking the think now because he's regretting not having taken the think on the previous move. Still, he has quite a bit of time in reserve, and I notice 99 of 9 has also built himself up to over 8 minutes in reserve. So I believe that the correct strategy for gold is to continue to play the home game. And 8G has been played. The camel did go after the horse, as camels like to do. They like to go after horses. Now, the silver dog quite likely will want to push into the B3 square, and it would be possible to push the gold rabbit into C3. So the silver dog into B3 and the rabbit pushed into C3, the idea being it's going to be that much harder for the gold horse to take the dog hostage. Alternatively, another way to keep the gold horse away from the silver dog is to push it away. That is to say, push it with the elephant from D4 into D3 and then from D3 into E3. But I see now, after pushing it over twice, it could just hop up back over the elephant through the D4 square to the C4 square and threaten the silver dog after all. I think that 99 of 9 might also consider, well, will definitely need to consider at some point getting his other pieces into the game. The silver is still sitting back there on F7, and C6 is still undefended. So we have 99 of 9 attempting a swarm, or what looks like an attempted swarm, without really much development to back it up. Here on 8S, so 99 of 9 did in fact take the B3 square with his dog, as I suggested, and there's which piece is going to try and reclaim that square in the fight for trap control. Is it going to be one of the gold horses? which gold horse? The horse on G3 has an opportunity. It could slide all the way over from G3 into the D3 square to go after that horse. That's a bit aggressive because it leaves the horse that's sitting on E4. It's a possibility that that horse would get pushed over, forked between the silver's home traps, pushed down into the E6 square, where it might get into some trouble. So the more conservative move would be to retreat his other horse. But no, he makes the aggressive move. Okay. So now the silver dog is in a lot of trouble. The silver horse is in a terrible position there on D1, but it's not going to be threatened for a couple of moves at least. So that's not of critical importance. Now, I think 99 of 9 on 9S doesn't have a whole lot that he can do. I mean, doesn't have a whole lot of possible strategies other than going after the gold horse he pushed out. He could push that horse over twice, or push it once and retreat his dog to avoid having his dog be captured on the very next turn, or be taken hostage on the very next turn. But if he was going to do something else, he could contemplate continuing the swarm, that cat, on the D7 square. That cat could come all the way up to the C4 square, holding in that rabbit. And by holding the gold rabbit into the C3 trap, the silver cat would be protecting the silver dog. I mean, it's mutual protection, that they're both protecting each other from being captured in C3. But there's an indirect protection of holding that rabbit in the way of the gold's heavy pieces coming over. So that would be kind of an amusing move to charge with the cat here on 9S. I would expect more pushing the horse would be a more traditional move, to push the gold horse offside so that you have something to capture. The calculation of pushing the horse offside over between silver's traps is to say, yeah, I know I'm going to lose a dog. My dog is pretty much toast. But if I can capture a horse while I'm only losing a dog, and then, yeah, my horse is still hostage, but my elephant will get back in time to save the silver horse after having ensured the capture of the gold horse, then I come out ahead. Pushing the horse one time, as I was thinking before, pushing the horse one time so that some other steps could be used to retreat the silver dog out of danger, doesn't look so convincing now that I look at it again, because if the horse were pushed just into the E5 square, then the horse could take 4 steps to retreat all the way back to G3. And so it would have just achieved an exchange of horses. Interesting. I hadn't seen the alternative here that 99 of 9 did, which was rather than bringing his cat up to hold in C3, he brought his rabbit up to hold in C3. That rabbit is a little bit weaker, and the difference between the cat and the rabbit matters at least to this extent. If now on move 10G, the gold elephant were to pull the silver rabbit back to C5, and then advance the gold rabbit from C3 to C4, well, that silver rabbit, even if the silver rabbit is unfrozen, it can't push its way back down to C4. So having the weaker piece there matters. Having the weaker piece there makes it more awkward. On the other hand, he does get the dog developed, and the dog being on the D7 can matter in some lines. Interesting. So on 10G, Adanac does not immediately go after, doesn't threaten to capture. So he cannot, well, he is threatening to capture the rabbit from C5, capture that rabbit in the C6 trap. But he's not threatening the dog. The horse is not threatened immediately. So now 99 of 9 might seriously consider on 10S going after the gold horse and hoping to capture that horse with time for his elephant to return and save his own horse, and then not end up being in too much trouble. And now pushing the gold horse one time appears somewhat more reasonable because the horse can't run as far. But no, I think I would push it twice anyway. So pushing the move that I'm looking at is 10S to have the silver elephant push the gold horse from the e4 square to the e6 square. And then on e6, the gold horse is threatened in both f6 and c6. And the theory behind that move is that the horse is quite likely to be captured. I don't see an easy way to defend it. Sending more little pieces after it will result in probably more pieces being lost. And sacrifice the c4 rabbit into c6. Okay, instead, 99 of 9 continues the swarm. Brings his cat up. Now his cat, I think, is going to end up a step short here. If the move that I'm looking at for 11G immediately is to get the gold cat off of the b2 square and then pull the silver dog back into the b2 square. Oh no, that's 4 steps, so he can't occupy it with the rabbit as well. So never mind, that's not such a devastating move for gold. Maybe that cat is enough to hold in and to stop the swarm from unraveling. So we have now a bona fide silver swarm, the move for gold that I was anticipating last time, which was to pull out the rabbit from c4 back to c5 and push it out. Oh, and that is what is played. But it does allow the horse through, so the horse can come 1 step. If it hadn't been for that 4th step of gold, then the gold cat would simply have been able to push back the rabbit, push the rabbit back into the trap. But still, the swarm is a serious business here. The silver elephant can occupy the e3 square, freeing up the silver horse. So the silver horse, which was the original object of all this kerfuffle, can now be unfrozen, and it would be a dog hostage that we're worried about. I'd rather be playing gold than silver at the moment, because gold has the camel next to silver horse, has the gold horse next to the silver dog, and I don't see how to escape with both the dog and the horse. Looks like silver is in a lot of trouble, and maybe if silver is going to get anything going, it would have to be some kind of counter attack on the f3 trap. That is, if the silver elephant unfreezes the silver horse, then the horse can switch wings and go over and attack the f3 trap, and there are reinforcements pointing at the f3 trap. But silver seems to me not quite far enough forward, not quite close enough to make that attack work, that as soon as f3 is threatened, the gold elephant will be able to switch sides and clean up around f3. There isn't enough ammunition. So gold seems to be in a quite nice position, and now 99 of 9 is starting to use up more of his reserve time. I'm such a slow thinker myself. I just played my first game of the screening against one of the challenge bots, against bot Marvin, and I got 2 minutes per move, and I used it all. Even though I was playing a weaker opponent than either of these guys are, against the bot, I felt I needed to use all of my 2 minutes, or I was quite comfortable using all of my 2 minutes. So it always surprises me when players move much faster than that. They're not even using the 90 seconds that they've been allocated, although now they're dipping into their accumulated reserve.
Karl, did you have a chance to look at what the predictions were?
Yeah, I see here that 20 people bet on Adanac and 4 people bet on 99 of 9. So odds of 5 to 1 would suggest a rating difference of something like 250 points rating difference, or maybe even a little bit more than that to get 5 to 1 odds. So I'm quite pleased with my prediction on 99 of 9, because just based on the ratings, they're less than 250 points apart. And 99 of 9's odds should be better than just 1 to 5 against. However, judging by the position on the board, maybe I should have bet on Adanac after all. So silver continues to advance, and when you're in a hole, you might as well keep on digging. You should throw good money after the bad. It's really his only plan. There's no way for him to retreat, get out, and say, I didn't mean about the swarm. I didn't want to swarm anyway. It's really pretty much too late for that. So it makes sense on 11F he would move his cat in, and then just some general reinforcements forward. So getting those 2 rabbits forward may look on the eastern wing. Those may look absolutely irrelevant, but the fact is that they're not irrelevant. What could happen at some point, it could be possible at some point for silver to have enough pieces and strong enough pieces around F3 that gold could not retake it, that silver could charge there and would be able to contest that trap. The gold elephant is having none of it. That is to say, the gold elephant is preemptively moving over on 12G, taking a step towards the east and saying, don't you dare think about attacking F3 or taking over F3. I'm not sure that the gold elephant will be permitted to stay that way, because the C4 rabbit could be just pushed right back towards the C6 trap. That is, on move 12S now, silver could duck aside with one of his rabbits, and with his C5 rabbit, and use his elephant to push the C4 rabbit to C5, threatening to win a rabbit right away. And there's nothing close enough to defend that, really, except for the gold elephant. And so that would be a way for for silver to get a tiny, tiny amount of counterplay. Maybe not worth it. Maybe it's too risky. But since his plan has been stopped, since his plan of attacking F3 for counterplay has been foiled, what else could he do? Well, another thing that could happen on 12S is he could change wings with his camel and say, I'm going to bring my camel around to B3. But no, he goes after that rabbit. But the way he goes after the rabbit is kind of interesting. The way he went after the gold rabbit does make it possible for the gold horse from B3 to come back to defend C6. And gold might say, my position is strong enough, I'm already willing to race. But I don't think that's likely that it'll happen that way. I think more likely the gold elephant will have to deal with this threat. Or alternatively, another interesting option for gold would be to frame the silver cat on the C3 square. And once the cat is framed on the C3 square, have the free elephant. The silver elephant will be pinned. But without that horse, with that horse over on B3, now that I look at that more, framing the silver cat is no good, because it's used up all of gold's heavy pieces to tie down that silver elephant, and it's quite likely then that, or more likely then, that silver would be able to contest the F3 square. Well, that's interesting. I didn't even look at the possibility of 13G of defending the rabbit with another rabbit. And now that I see that silver's cat and dog, which would be normally around there to deal with that advanced rabbit, well, the cat and the dog were involved in the swarm. So that was a very nice move for 13G that I didn't see. And the step with the horse is quite relevant. The step with the horse freezes the silver cat, so the cat can't help fight for control of C6, although if the silver rabbit advances, the cat could fight for control of C6. But also it gets the horse one step closer to fighting for C6. So gold does not want his elephant distracted. Gold has one eye on F3, one eye on the east, what's going on over there, and doesn't want to use his elephant on the C6 trap unless there's going to be some immediate gain. So he'd rather have his horse prevent any material loss in C6. And so that step, getting that horse one step closer, is a fine idea, as it appears to me anyway. So the option that I was thinking of for silver before, and I would still consider it at this point, was to get the silver camel over and eventually the silver camel in the direction of contesting the b3 square. The actual 13s that was played did move the camel in that direction. The elephant could push it back, push it into f6 or back to e7, but it's in the general direction. There's a false protection. There's a tactical trick here. The gold dog is threatened in the f3 trap, or the gold cat, either one, because they're in false protection with each of them being threatened by a stronger silver piece. So silver could say push the cat into the f3 trap and pull the dog away, and that would be a capture of a cat. Any kind of captures here or any kind of counterplay for silver is welcome, because otherwise gold is pretty much dominating this position. Notice that it doesn't defend the false protection to get the gold camel into the d2 square. So if the camel moved over to d2, you might be tempted here to say, I'm going to move the gold camel to d2 and then the dog up to c2. Events have overtaken me, so it defended the false protection by just adding one more piece to defend the f3 trap, and then advanced another rabbit, continuing the attack against continuing the swarm against that wing. If I were silver, I would be more eager than ever to get my camel over there to help defend somewhat. So right now on 14s, for example, the cat could come up from e8 to freeze the silver camel, move it over one step closer, and then the silver dog could push away, or even not push away. What the heck? You could use the other two steps on something else. Use the other two steps to consolidate the position in some other way. You wouldn't have to threaten the capture in the c6 trap. But otherwise, the silver dog could push away either of the gold rabbits and make a threat in the c6 trap. Another alternative would be for the silver dog to push back one of the gold rabbits from the b6 square to the b5 square, advancing the silver rabbit too. It's nice to have at least one advanced rabbit. So sure, gold has 3 rabbits here, and they're threatening gold. Oh, and he pushes it the other way, I see, on 14s. But it would have been nice to have the silver rabbit at least 1 square forward. Oh, and he moved the silver rabbit. That's odd. Why would he move the rabbit from b5 to b4? I mean, I know why he would do that. It would be nice to unfreeze the silver cat. It would be nice to have another attacker. But if you're going to clear that square, you might as well push the gold rabbit back. That rabbit on c7 is quite precarious. If either the gold elephant or the gold horse, depending on what piece of silver allocates, suppose some strong piece comes and occupies c7, now that gold rabbit is an immediate threat to win, and it will be quite difficult for silver to deal with that later. I think using that fourth step differently, rather than advancing the rabbit on the H file, would have been much more productive. So now gold has an enemy to deal with. He doesn't want his rabbit to be captured in the c6 trap. It's not clear that he can defend with his horse, so he probably needs to use his elephant. And he completes the frame. Okay, so we have the potential here for a somewhat interesting race. If silver can hold on, now gold has a very serious goal threat, as I was just saying. That rabbit on b7 instead of on b5, the rabbit on b7 makes the goal threat all the more serious. But gold's heavy pieces are all used up framing the cat on c3. So that gives silver some potential for counterplay. The camel, the silver camel, could now advance. Say the rabbit could come over from f7 to e7, or the cat from e8 to e7 could come forward, allowing the silver camel to advance. The camel could even just wait a moment until the elephant wanted to try and do something to try and make the attack stronger. Wait a second to see what it's going to do, and have the silver camel jump into the g3 square, reestablishing that false protection, probably pushing the gold rabbit off to the side. So the fact that the gold elephant had to commit to the c6 square is not bad for gold, and that he's got very strong threats around there. But it does mean that f3 is now a potential target for silver, that there may be some counterplay here before this game is over. Adanac, again, even on that move, which looks rather tricky to me, used only 71 seconds. He's built his reserve up to 10 minutes and 9 seconds. We'll see what's to use that later on in the game. As 9909 is having a long think, let me pause to thank our sponsors, Z-Man Games, the producer of Arimaa sets and other fine games, and Board Games for Us. That's the number 4, Board Games for Us. Both of them are selling games online. I encourage you to visit their sites. They have contributed to the prize fund for this fine event. Okay, so silver may be calculating here how much can he defend just with small pieces? What are his odds defending just with small pieces? How long can he hold off the attack and hope to get something going himself? f3 is not his only potential target. Another potential way to get some position back here would be to send the silver camel out against the horse that's sitting on c4. So I was suggesting before that the silver camel could cross sides and head for b3, coming through the middle. Wow, I do not understand 15s at all. So the silver horse, which had previously used a step to threaten f3, now moves away from f3, and I don't really see that it's accomplishing anything on the d1 square. I don't understand how silver could have possibly had time to make that move. It's not. Yeah. Okay. So there's no threat there. So silver must have some other plan. If he's going to get some play, he's not going to get any play against the f3 square. He's not planning to attack f3, or he wouldn't have moved one of his horses away from f3. So maybe he was planning what I was talking about just before he made that move, which would be to bring the silver camel through the center, up or maybe back through the back ranks, but somehow get the silver camel next to one of the gold horses to break the frame, free up the silver elephant. There might be some potential there. I don't think, in a different position, I might have thought that silver was making that move in preparation for abandoning his framed piece. The pinned elephant might say, I'm going to run away. I know I'm going to lose a cat if I run away, but it's going to be worse for me if I don't run away. So I'm preparing to run away. But it's not just the cat. It's still the dog and the rabbit are there around the c3 trap. So the silver elephant can't move. I don't see what's going on. So I'm really puzzled by that 15s. I don't see the silver horse serving a useful function there, and I don't see what silver's plan is. If the only plan that I really see for silver is to activate the camel, and activating the camel will distract the gold elephant and give some more plays, but is part of the plan of activating the silver camel, those steps with the silver horse don't seem meaningful. I don't know if anybody else who's watching the game has an idea of what was going on with those steps and wants to pitch in here. Somehow it made Adanac go into a deep think, though. He's thinking a long time about this move. Now, how could he make his attack on the c6 square, how to make the gold attack more effective? What could be done? One possibility would be to get the gold horse involved. In order to get the gold horse involved, probably want something else sitting on the c4 square than the gold horse. So like the gold dog could come around. If he moves the rabbit up, the e2 is empty because the silver just evacuated it. So a rabbit could go from e1 to e2, and then bring up the gold dog over top the silver elephant and into the fight. Well, Adanac heard what I was saying, I guess, and made that move, and maybe 99 of 9 thought of it beforehand and said, let me get out of the way. We're on the same team now. I'm going to see if I can help out gold, make it easier for gold to attack me. So now Adanac is in a really wonderful position, as it appears to me, because the gold horse is going to come out of the frame, leaving the silver elephant still pinned. Gold's weakness, Gold's one issue here, is that the F3 trap is still quite vulnerable, but it's going to be harder to attack that F3 trap. Oh, he does F3 trap. That's what he's doing. It makes sense that he would do so. But it seems like it's going to be a slightly harder maneuver to undertake because of the fact that the silver horse is not nearby. Now, I think gold still has time to make the rotation. So what gold needs to do on 17G, with that silver now totally committed to the attack, gold must bring his elephant down back to the F3 square and prevent catastrophe around F3. So here comes the elephant back, but when he does so, is he content to lose 3 rabbits around C6? What's going to happen there? So he might first rotate his horse out to defend C6 so that then his elephant can come. And sure enough, that's exactly what he did. So he took 3 steps to reorganize the way the pieces were holding in the cat frame. And now he can't lose any rabbits in the C6 trap, and in fact his horse can continue the attack. There's a fairly strong threat of advancing rabbit from D5 to D6, then the horse up through the trap, pushing the rabbit away on C7 away, with a threat to take the dog and a threat to goal. So that's something silver needs to be very concerned about. But also, he's freed his elephant. The elephant is threatening to come step on the silver horse and the silver camel that are around F3. And I'm guessing now that the silver would like to have his horse, his second horse around F3, to have 3 strong pieces fighting for F3 rather than just 2. So what else can silver do? How can silver get another piece involved in the trap control fight? I don't see how silver's going to win, just looking way in advance to the fight for F3. I don't see how silver can win that with the gold elephant coming free. I think the camel should probably bail out now and try and help around C6 if it can, try and cross to that side, although I don't quite see how that's possible. Also, if silver makes a move that's not threatening enough, F6 is undefended, and gold could just flip a rabbit into F6. But I guess maybe I would try and shore up the F6 trap with some rabbits and get the silver camel onto the D4 square here on move 17S. Looking at maybe camel into the D4 square, that is threatening the gold horse indirectly. It's hoping to participate in the defense. And then a rabbit, maybe the H8 rabbit, could come to G6 just so that the F6 trap is not undefended. And then abandon the F3 plan. Because attacking F3 is not going to pan out. Maybe you could cause some slight panic to gold for a while. I don't even know how panicked he would be with the elephant there to participate in the fight, and not enough pieces to share control of F3. And even if it was shared control of F3, the horse alone is enough to take over C6. So all the gold elephant needs to do would be to stop the bleeding around F3, and then have a rollicking attack going against C6. So I think it's time for silver to abort the F3 attack and try to use the camel to break the frame or to otherwise participate in the defense. Very interesting. Okay, so 99 of 9 saw it the way I did, saw that there wasn't much hope for the F3 attack, and wanted to use the camel otherwise, and actually pushed the gold rabbit forward again for the second time in the game. Now here he's set up a false protection of the gold horse and gold rabbit that are defending C6. So gold can't say, I'm going to trade rabbits, or I'm going to take the time to take the rabbit on E7 to F6. That's not happening. However, the gold horse is not frozen, so the gold horse can jump forward through the C6 trap onto the C7 square, and that's not a bad square for the horse, and it could maybe be combined with freezing the silver camel, or even the rabbit from D6 into C6. That actually looks kind of good. So the move that I'm looking at is for the gold horse to push into C6 to C7, pushing the rabbit back, and the gold rabbit into the trap behind the horse. So the horse is perfectly safe. It's making a threat, a fairly strong gold threat. The one thing that might not be so great about it is it allows the silver camel to break the frame of the gold cat, of the silver cat, but the gold attack may be so strong that breaking the frame may be irrelevant. And besides, the gold elephant can swing around and attack the gold camel somehow. Well, I'm not quite sure how it would work. Tactics are a little bit complex. I like the plan, though. I like the fact that silver has given gold something to think about here, even in a very difficult situation, very bad situation. So gold has other options. He could just pull the camel away. He could move the rabbit directly into C6 trap so the elephant can get to D6 and push the camel towards the east, push the silver camel from D5 into E5, and then the rabbit on C6 would be safe. Nothing can dislodge the horse, and the frame would still be intact. So that would be some kind of positional move. So instead, we see he uses the 3 steps to invade C6, as I said, but the 4th step decides to freeze the camel instead, which seems sensible to me. I was thinking that the gold rabbit would die, that the cat could push the rabbit into F6, but now I see that would lose the silver dog. So maybe the silver cat needs to push the rabbit away and then just unfreeze the camel and get the camel into the defense. And 99 of 9 moves quite quickly, especially compared to his previous move. Quite quickly along those lines. It's nice to get the silver camel next to the gold horse. That will mean it will take some time before the gold attack can get going. It means that the gold elephant will be committed on that side. So it's good things for silver. The gold elephant does have to come back somehow. I was wrong. The gold elephant does not have to come back somehow. That's a very nice attacking move by gold. There aren't a lot of pieces on the back row to defend against it. The only thing that can step in front of the gold rabbit is a silver rabbit. Wow, what a nice gold attack. I did not see that at all. So if the silver rabbit steps in front of the gold rabbit, still the threat of the gold horse, just pushing that rabbit away, moving back into its square, and moving forward one. Let me check in the chat room to see if anybody there sees a defense. Well, I don't see any comments in the chat room. So I don't even see a way to stop goal on the next move. Well, now I'm having some technical difficulties. Yeah, because the only thing that can get in front of it is a rabbit. Okay, I've been proven wrong again. The cat got in front of it. So it was not goal in one, not goal on the next move. Now, Gold Horse can pull away the cat or push away the cat. Maybe that's the best way to continue the attack. Another way to continue the attack is to advance a second gold rabbit. The rabbit on E3 could be unfrozen by the cat coming into F3, and then that rabbit could advance all the way to F5. I'm afraid here's where my commentary usually falls down, because I am not the best at either goal attack or goal defense. Well, I don't need to tell you that. You've already seen it. So one option I see for attacking is to bring up a second rabbit. The other option I see for attacking is to get the gold horse into the E7 square, pushing the silver cat to the west, pushing the silver cat to D7. That's a threat for the rabbit to goal straight up, but then we also have to prevent the rabbit from being pushed into the F6 trap and being killed, so probably the elephant would have to move over and cover. Well, that's strong enough, I guess. It's not as clear as I would like it to be. The hippo is still saying in the chat room there is no way that this can be defended. So, but he's not suggesting the actual winning move. I'm looking at the goal attack move that I'm looking at is for the gold horse to come into the E7 square, pushing the silver cat to D7, and then we need to defend the F6 trap so that the rabbit doesn't die, and that would be elephant over, elephant to the F5 square to defend the F6 trap from there. If that doesn't work, another potential idea here is for gold to say, I thought I had a goal attack, I miscalculated. Happens to me all the time. I miscalculated my goal attack, so I'm just going to send my elephant over to take the silver horse. Just going to send my elephant over to the G5 square, and I'll take the silver horse that's sitting there on G4. And yeah, I'll lose a couple rabbits in the meantime. Oh well, too bad. But then eliminating the silver horse too will open another avenue of attack. There still wouldn't be many pieces on the east there. And the last move in that, well, okay, it's only 2 steps to get the gold elephant over to the G5 square, so the gold horse could make a step, or another step a step to E8 to freeze the silver cat, which would slow down a little the deterioration of the position. Adanac has thought, I think this is the longest think he's had all game. Interesting, after a quick move from both sides, that is both Adanac and 99 of 9 moved in under the allotted 90 seconds. Now he's taken 4 minutes already to think about this move. Well, that's the advantage of having built up a reserve earlier in the game. You can use it now when the position is wild and crazy. All 4 traps are in play. And it's a critical position. The game could be over in just a few moves, but maybe not. Okay, so he didn't see a way to force a goal on 20G. Adanac decided instead to go after the silver horse. Now, one interesting thing about that is that the silver horse can easily be defended. It took 4 steps to set up the threat to the horse. It only takes 3 steps to defend that by silver. But if silver does in fact defend the horse by moving it away to e3, unfreezing it with the rabbit and moving it away to e3, then there's one fewer defender in the east, and another gold rabbit can just come streaking up to threaten gold that way. As well as this move enables a new way to threaten gold. That is, by the gold horse. Now, if the gold horse now pushes into the e7 square, the gold rabbit can move over to f6. Okay, so both of these options that I mentioned appear to still be options. That is to say, either shooting another gold rabbit up the side, so the rabbit that's now on g3 could make it to g5 or to h6, or using the horse to push into the e7 square and the rabbit into the trap. And he chose the latter of those, and he chose it quite quickly. I assume after how long he thought the previous move, that he wouldn't move so quickly this move unless it truly were forced goal. So what would be a possible defense here? There are 3 columns, F, G, and H. There are only 2 rabbits to occupy those 3 columns. Is there a way to get a 3rd piece in there? Is there anything that can be done? The rabbit can be pulled back to e6 by the camel, but then it has a chance of goaling straight up the e file. Oh no, then it's still 4 steps away from goal. I see 2 defenders and 3 columns that needed to be defended. Sacrificing the camel has been suggested by Hippo in the chat room. The camel on f7 would need, and also a rabbit would then have to cover one of the goaling squares. The rabbit would have to cover the g8 goaling square. I think that might delay, but it does give up the camel. I noticed in a spectator contest, the average game length that was predicted was 44 for Adanac winning. So if the game is over as fast as it appears to be over, it's going to be somebody who guessed very low. This would be the quickest game of the World Championship so far.
I think
certainly the quickest game of the finals. I'm seeing here that there was Adanac won in 30 moves, but that was on time. The quickest game that went to goal was in 33 moves, and this is only on move 21. So I see. So just pushing the camel into the f7 square takes all 4 steps, and it does delay goal by 1 turn. Then gold would 5 steps from goal, but it would lose the camel. The camel would immediately perish in the f6 trap. Looks like 99 of 9 satisfied himself that there was no other way to stop the goal. Now it takes 4 steps to take the camel, moving the rabbit out, of course, to the g6 side. Don't expect Adanac to take long on this move, considering how quickly he moved throughout the entire game. But he is in fact thinking about it. Okay, let me think about it too. So would the silver cat be able to come across? After that capture, the cat can move over from d7 to e7. Then it needs to be unfrozen to get further over and provide another defender. So the rabbit from c7 to d7. Then the cat could come over 2 squares, which is what it needs to do. And then how would one break through that defense? So again, 99 of 9 apparently satisfied himself that that was the only move that had a chance of working. Now the silver horse, I was trying to get the gold elephant involved in this attack to make it the rest of the way, but when the gold elephant gets involved, the silver horse is lurking there and can maybe come back and participate in defense. It's only the gold elephant that's in the way. Well, taking that rabbit, as Adanac did on move 23G, can hardly be wrong. Increasing the material advantage, and the goal attack is still overwhelming. It looks almost impossible. One of the unfortunate things here is, although Silver's position is absolutely helpless, he might be able to prolong the game another 10 moves if he were to move his elephant back to the E6 square right now. That's utterly hopeless. I mean, that elephant move is not going to stop, is conceding the game because it loses a cat, dog around that trap, frees up gold pieces to get more gains elsewhere. But it may be a way to stop the goal, and Silver may feel compelled to stop it in that way. But maybe even moving the elephant to E6 doesn't stop the goal, because the gold horse would be able to flip the cat into the E7 square, and then maybe the gold rabbit goes through anyway. Other than bringing the elephant back, I'm not sure what other tries there would be to delay. Maybe moving another rabbit across, which would just provide another piece of cannon fodder, another capture, another turn to take. Silver is already up a camel and a rabbit. The game is well in hand. The only question here is, will it last 1 move, 2 moves, or 3 moves more? "99 of 9 seems committed to finding the way to prolong the game the most. This is a situation in which chess masters would often resign. However, in Arimaa, usually the situation is in Arimaa when the position is so bad that it becomes resignable, you're only a few moves from goal anyway. So when the position is hopeless, it means that you don't have long to suffer anyway. You're only going to suffer for 2, 3 more moves at most. So why not take it as an exercise in goal finding or in defense? Although, frankly, this is not how I would build up and use my reserve. That is, I would probably not move quickly the whole game to have the privilege of thinking very carefully about how to prolong my demise for 1 or 2 moves at the very end. Four minutes of thinking already for 99 of 9. Oh, sorry, 3.5 minutes. And I believe that he has depleted his earlier reserve from when he had, earlier in the game, from when he had many minutes in reserve. So he's decided that the move that I was discussing, elephant to F6, is the most tenacious defense. Now the question in my mind is whether flipping the cat from G7 to E7, it may be that flipping the cat from E7 to G7 is a forced goal anyway. That may be goal in 2. So in spite of the elephant having come home on defense, it's still goal in 2. If that is not goal in 2, then gold has plenty of other options. I mean, he can start by using his camel to take the B2 dog in the C3 trap, and then continue to rack up a material advantage. It shouldn't be. I mean, the outcome is certainly not in doubt. But if gold has to take pieces rather than forcing goal immediately, then the game could definitely go on another several moves. Perhaps Adanac is also considering pushing the silver cat to the east and then having the gold rabbit come through the f6 trap to f7. I don't see what else silver would to stop that other than put his elephant on f7, pushing the rabbit back into f6. But that move may be adequate, pushing the rabbit back into f6. If the cat is flipped, the elephant really can't participate very well. Okay, so Adanac played that move, and moving the rabbit through the trap. Now, it seems that that silver indeed has to push the rabbit back into f6 with the elephant on f7. That leaves one more step. I'm not sure how silver would best use that one step, but it seems that it could be used to put the rabbit on g8, and so the goal doesn't break through. If I'm looking back at flipping the cat over to e7, I don't. Where was silver going to be able to defend the G file? To get a piece there seemed to require too many steps. I think Adanac missed a quick way to finish off the game. And now we may be in for a slow way to finish off the game. If the rabbit on f6 now moves into e7 2 steps, the elephant could come behind it, threatening to unfreeze it, but the silver elephant would just flip it right back into f6. This matters to people who predicted on the move count that I do believe that Adanac missed a forced goal in 2 on move 24, and now on move 25, I don't see the forced goal at all. I'm not sure that there is a forced goal anymore. One thought would be to move the rabbit to f7 and not follow up with the elephant, but to use the other 2 steps, setting up another threat. Trying to unfreeze those gold rabbits over there on a6 and b7. So with move 25G, Adanac has conceded that it's not going to be a quick win. It's going to be a slow win. I think that the dog, part of the taking that rabbit, rather than taking the dog, I was suggesting using the gold camel to take the dog on b2. Why would Adanac take the silver rabbit instead? Well, taking the silver frees a lane for the horse. So now that gold horse is threatening to jump up into the b6 square. It's threatening the gold dog, a silver dog, and also threatening to set up another gold threat, to set up a second gold threat. There's one in the east, there'd be another one in the west, and maybe that would be too much to handle. But 99 of 9 can now retreat that dog to the c7 square, pulling the a6 rabbit behind it. So I guess what I would suggest for prolonging this game as much as possible is for 99 of 9 to capture the a6 rabbit by dragging it into the c6 trap, moving the dog through the trap up to the c7 square. And then I don't see how the horse is going to create a quick breakthrough. Then gold might just take the silver dog in c3, and silver might take the other rabbit. In terms of slowing game, take all the advanced rabbits. That's one way to do it. Oh, well, 99 rather than capture a rabbit, has offered to sacrifice the C6 dog. Now, I don't think that that's a threat. I don't think that 99 actually set up a goal in 4 threat there. That silver rabbit could only advance 3 squares before it's frozen by the gold camel. So I think that the gold horse can now capture the silver dog in the C6 trap, opening up another rabbit, a lane for another rabbit to come to goal, and meaning that we'll have a somewhat quick end to this after all. So, oh, also there's a golden one from F6. I didn't see it. The gold rabbit can simply advance from F6 to D8, and there's goal. And apparently Adanac didn't see the golden one either. So I'm not alone there. Well, now there are 2 golden one threats by Adanac. So let's see here, after 26S, let's see if Adanac now spots the golden one, moving his gold rabbit from F6 directly to D8. And sure enough, he does. Well, congratulations to both the players. 27 moves, very impressive performance by Adanac, the fastest win of the World Championship finals, and I think other than games on time, the fastest win of entire championship. 3rd place winner is Adanac. Adanac has now taken 3rd place in the Arimaa World Championship for the 3rd time. And it also means that the rankings, that the world history ratings, had seeded 99 in 4th place, and he took 4th place. They had seeded Adanac in 3rd place, and he took 3rd place. And they also seeded me in 1st place and Chesengo in 2nd place. Although that's a little bit silly because Chesengo has more or less dominated me in our personal series. But I'm very much hoping that it is an omen that the seedings held true for 3rd place and 4th place, and I hope they hold true for 1st and 2nd. My game against Chesengo for the World Championship is on Monday. That is 2 days from now at the same time, actually a couple hours earlier than this one started. I wonder if the players are going to be able to show up for an interview. Let me ask in the chat room.
Hello?
Hey, Greg.
Oh, hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. You didn't make me work very hard today.
Yeah, actually, I thought that might really get prolonged. Thought around move 21 I might have a quick goal, but then I realized it was going to drag on, but I'm glad I was able to finish it relatively quickly.
I was looking at flipping once the silver elephant came to E6. I was looking at flipping the cat to E7, which I thought was a golden 2. Did you consider that move? Maybe I miscalculated.
Here, let me take a look. I have to open my window again. So which move's that, 22?
So this is move 24G, flipping the silver cat. From G7 to E7.
Mm-hmm. Thought about that, and I didn't think it was a goal. Let me take another look. So I thought that the elephant could just go to G7, right?
No, because the cat's in the way.
Oh, you're right. Wow, I thought about that, and I didn't calculate it correctly.
Hopefully nobody kicked you in 25.
Yeah, or 26, because I overlooked the goal in one there. But usually people don't predict that low.
So I have to ask about the opening. You seemed quite willing to swarm from move 1.
Mm-hmm.
Were you surprised that 99 of 9 did not take the camel hostage, either 4G or 5G?
Well, he's seen a lot of that in this tournament. Omar attacked him with a camel, and he attacked you with the camel. I don't know. I think, and Tux attacked him. I don't know. I think the 99 of 9's been facing a lot of that. I wasn't sure how he'd react to another one. Yeah, I wasn't really sure how he would react, if he would go for a counterattack in the east or if he would take a hostage. I was a little unsure what to do on move 6 because I wasn't expecting him to put his horse on B5, and then I wasn't sure if it was even a good idea to pull it down to B3 because I wasn't sure how I would be able to control that situation. But yeah, I guess I was a little surprised by his defense there.
Now, I thought that the pull to B3 was correct. I think you might have been able to even end with the camel in the Q3 trap.
Oh, I was... Oh, and then he would flip it to C5, and then I would move my elephant to D5 again.
Yeah, okay, so no, that doesn't quite work. So I might have made a mistake there. So I think you pulled it back in the correct way, but I think pulling it was the correct move.
Okay. Yeah, it was an unusual situation around move. I guess around move 8 or 9, it started to get unusual because the dog was pretty strong on B3, and I couldn't really, wasn't sure what to do there. I was actually even willing to trade my E4 horse for a dog, and then, let me think now, was that move? Yeah, on move 9S, if my horse had been pushed from E4 to E6, I was even thinking I might just be best off taking the dog on B3, sacrificing the horse, and trying to build a strong position, because I thought my pieces were a little uncoordinated there in the opening.
Yeah, I rather expected 99 of 9 to attack the horse because I didn't see what play he had otherwise. The swarm seems somewhat difficult. That is to say, it's difficult to swarm in any circumstance, but when you're swarming with the camel against the guy who has the horse, it's hard enough then, but when the guy with the horse is swarming you and you've got the camel, I didn't see how the silver swarm was quite going to work.
It was a little, until I got my horse onto the C3 square, it was a little awkward for me. I knew I was going to have a little bit of difficulty there, but yeah, I was pretty happy after that exchange by about move 13 or 14. I was pretty happy with my position. Then my concern after that was the southeast quadrant. He never did attack the southeast quadrant, but I was always expecting that it would come eventually.
Well, and you had your elephant hovering there. It seems like a pretty good deterrent. Yeah, I think that you handled the swarming much better. I think it was a well-deserved win. After you pulled the horse through, I'm not sure. I never really saw a way for 99 and 9 to get back in the game. Trading the horse for rather than a dog maybe would have been the best option, but he's still stuck with the horse hostage to your camel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting, but I think I would have still liked my position even then, yeah.
Well, congratulations, silver medalist.
Ron.
I have to ask the Ron Weasley memorial question. How do you feel this affects your chances of going undefeated?
Yeah. Well, I think I had a witty response set up for that question and I've forgotten it, but yeah, I don't think my chances are too good anymore.
All right. Well, very well done. Impressive performance. Fastest win of the finals. I believe fastest win of the entire tournament. Congratulations.
Okay, thanks very much.